to That's So Nova. My name is Nova. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, how you doing? Today I'm doing, we're going to be making this bag, the Sage from Lanyos. Oh my God. It's a new pattern to me and a new designer to me, but holy moly. This bag is like, that was my press. It's going to be okay. We're going to be making this bag and we're going to be, we're breaking it down. The first half, I'm wearing like a different shirt, different hairstyle. It's purely interior. The second half is a little bit longer because we're putting together the exterior, and the exterior has like flat pieces. We have a lot of little things going on, and I try to explain everything to you as we go. There are a little bit of snafus, but I tell you how I fix them. We're going to have this. We're going to have a front pocket, a front magnetic pocket. That's a strong magnet. We have a zipper pocket in the front and the back, and we have two slip pockets, and then there's a center divider. So buckle up. We're about to have some fun with this new pattern. I do have where you can purchase a pattern down in my description box, and let's get rolling. Hi, and welcome to That's So Nova. My name is Nova. Welcome. If you're a first time here, I hope you like the content today and like and subscribe. And if you're a returning subscriber, hi, what are you doing? We're going to be making a new back pattern and a new designer that's new to this channel. I said it all fancy before. Lanyos Handmade. We're going to be making a satchel. And this satchel has a lot of pockets, very unique shape, and I'm going to be making it the first time with you, and I'm really excited, and I'm going to be doing something just a little bit different today. With this pattern, it inspired me because it was one of the first patterns I've ever seen where you put together the lining first and then the exterior, and I was actually blown away from that because when I'm making bags, I'm the person that doesn't like to make straps, and I'm constantly getting reminded to make my straps at the beginning where I have a nice full bobbin. And I love putting the exterior together, but I kind of, after I put one pocket in, I kind of get lazier with the lining. I know you shouldn't because the inside is super important. So I'm going to do something a little bit different because I was inspired about the lining. I'm using vinyl for the exterior and the interior. Instead of using stabilizers or interfacing, I use some in certain pieces, but I'm going to use both. And I'm kind of excited about it to show you. And we're going to be making this Sage Satchel together. So if you have the pattern, you can you cut out all your pieces. And we will go to, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me show you this. Okay. So in her bag, she shows you the body front, the body bag, the divider. This bag is really like a build it, you own it kind of thing. You don't have to have a adjustable strap. You can have a shoulder strap. You don't have to put the middle compartment zipper pocket in there, but you have an option to. It's nothing but options in here, which is really great if you're trying to do skill building and get better at what you do. There's two different front pockets. You can either pick A or B. I've seen some in the testing where they choose not to put the tabs. I've seen some people use the front tabs and put cap-ins. It's really a good bag to make truly yourself one of a kind. So I'm going to be following the pattern pretty exact, except I have to do slight alterations when I'm not using stabilizer and I'm using vinyl. I'm using also waterproof canvas in here, and I will tell you when I do something different and explain what you're supposed to do if you want to follow the pattern. I'm not going too far into it. We have different people in the group that are making different videos, whether it's a domestic, a semi-domestic, or an industrial. For mine, I wanted to do two different industrial machines because I think a lot of people are interested and don't see that one machine can't sometimes do it all. What I'm going to be working on today is the Juki 5550N. A lot of people have questions on this, and rightfully so. This is a fantastic machine. If you're familiar with the Juki TL 2000s 2200 QVP Mini, this machine is kind of like that, except it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. Those machines have automatic thread cutters if you want. It has a lot of different features, like having a light installed in the home space, the little arm space. There are upsides and downsides to every machine. My machine, it is not scheduled to go down. I do have a needle synchronizer. I installed it on my other machine flawlessly, but for some reason, kind of suck at this one. One day, one weekend when I'm not sewing or teaching a class, I will fix that. But, so you'll hear me say, put your needle down if you have a straight stitch machine, and that does not automatically do that. So pretty much is the same machine as a QVP Mini, except my motor and my timing belt is on the outside versus all covered up in the inside. So I wanted to do the interior on this machine, and then I'm going to film another part of the video tomorrow. So if you see different hairstyle or different t-shirt, you know that that's part 2 of the making the the exterior. So let's begin. She explains a few options that you have as a satchel. And our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch, unless something else is mentioned. Her regular stitch length she uses for her machine is a 3mm. I'm using a 2.5 and a 3M. When we go to the part where we're putting together the lining, we're doing the zipper pocket, you'll see I'll change my stitch length, and I will tell you. And I'll explain why as we go. So disappearing fabric markers. It begins on page 12. We are going to we're going to go here. I'm taking everything that is going to go with this pocket, putting it to the side, and we're going to start on page 12. What I like to do is I draw my seam allowances. Hold on one second, I'm trying to see. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what will be easier for you to see. And I'm looking at the wrong camera view. Go, Shinova. I draw our seam allowance. I use a Westcott ruler. This ruler's pretty beat up. And the reason why I use it, it has 1/8 of an inch mark, like going through the 1 inch. So if someone's like 3/4 of an inch or 7/8, I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this. So I draw. I wouldn't recommend using a big pen like I am doing, but for the sake of the video I'm showing you, I would use probably chalk, but it would be too faint to see, or a duo pen or a water erasable. So I draw my seam, and then I draw my opening. So I'm going to go over to my machine, and I'm going to stitch at a 3. I'm going to back stitch 1 or 2 stitches every time. When you have to turn, just needle down, which that was just the luck of the draw, and then you go. And then I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to put my needle up, and I'm going to drag the threads to go to the next side, and I'll cut the threads when I'm done sewing this side. Couple back stitch back, couple stitches back. That's weird. That's like a weird luck of the draw twice. I'm using a 9014 organ needle. I couldn't find my 80s. I think I need to order some more from Waywack. So I'm working with what I got. It's a little bit bigger needle than I usually would use for lining, but I am also going to be using vinyl as my lining, so it's probably for the best. Okay, I trimmed all the threads. What I usually do from here is I'll draw like a V, or like a V or an arrow, whatever suits you. And I cut, and I'll snip into that, not snip it into my, don't snip into your stitches. And what I like to do is, before I know I'm going to turn this, I like to use either a seam roller or my fingers or a bone folder, and fold this in on itself. If you are using cotton, this is a perfect time to use your iron. So I'm going to trim this down to half of the seam allowances, which is 1/4 of an inch. I'm using my pinking shears so that things don't fray as easily. I'm going to grab this. And then when I go here, I go kind of at a diagonal, not cutting into my stitches, but trying to make sure that when I turn this out, it will have like a nice clear point. I do this also with the other stitches. All right. So we're going to turn this right sides out through our opening. And because we have a 4 to 5 inch opening, it will turn nicely. I'm going to get a tool. It's a chopstick. And I'm going to, you can use a pencil eraser, not a pencil. You don't want anything sharp that will poke a hole into it, but something that's kind of blunt. Take your time. There's no rush. So you want to make sure you execute getting these corners nice and tight and very not roundish. And that could take some time. Especially if you're working with mine. This is not waterproof canvas. This is just like a regular canvas. And I, for the life of me, don't know where I got it from. But it is so hard to iron. Like, I was at the ironing board for like an hour trying to get out a wrinkle. I'm like, what? Where did I get this fabric? Why is it so finicky? Okay. And this is the last one. All right. So now you can see why I told you to fold it in, because it just naturally comes closed. So we are going to, we're going to now top stitch this just to give it, you don't have to, but I always like to do a small top stitch so that way my slip pocket has a nice accent feature. I'm going to do it at 1/8 of an inch, and that is the inside of my toe of my machine, like right here. And I'm going to do a few stitches back. Okay. We're going to trim the seam allowance. And then I'm going to draw an area that, with chalk, I was looking for it, an area that we can draw to help separate the pockets. And you could draw on either side or one side. It's really your whatever your preference is. I'm going to try on this side towards my left. And we're going to measure the 3/4 of an inch inside. And then we're just going to connect the lines. I'm using the chalk pen. And then I'm going to grab my vinyl that I'm using for the interior and my double-sided tape. What I like to do is even when I'm doing cotton, I do this because if I can't pin it, like if I'm using waterproof canvas and I can't pin it, then I do this. I put some double-sided tape. If your machine is not great with double-sided tape, you could try Dritz Wash Away, or I believe also there's a couple of shops that have washable tape. And let me get this in. And I'm going to measure, but first I'm going to find my centers. Always find your centers. I'm going to do a small V, a V cut. And we're going to measure up And I'm going to find my centers here. And then I'm going to peel off this double-sided tape. Line everything up again. And press it down. Okay, so we're going to take it over to the machine and we are going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. So what I do is I grab my threads and I start 1 or 2 stitches and then go back. When I go forward, I'm going to put my needle down right below our stitch, the I don't want to say fancy stitch line, but the decorative maybe is the word I was looking for. I'm going to go 1, 2 stitches forward, back, and then we're going to continue to stitch. This is called a bar tack. They use it a lot in garment sewing, and it helps with areas like this that are going to be slipped inside and out because it is a pocket. That's what they're meant to do. And as I get over to this white chalk line, I'm going to put my needle down. Go up. And then put my needle down. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bar tack. And then I'm going to go back down the line. And that just is extra reinforcement to that area. Take your time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go up and then back stitch, put my needle in the needle down position, and then bar tack this side. Okay, we're going to trim our threads. All right, so the next thing we're going to grab is our zipper placket. There, she has more options. There's an option to have a curvy one like the one I picked, or a more pronounced pointy one. And I actually like both of them. I think both of them are very charming, but I went for the round one. So that's what we're going to work with. I'm going to find my centers on here. I put some double-sided tape on here as well, so that way I can put, I can have a nice crisp and it stays on. The measurements, you're going to go down. Sorry. I'm just verifying the measurements. It's on 13, part B. We're going down. I'm going to take this double-sided tape off on both sides. And I'm going to take my center and match it up. And then I'm going to grab, I have this really cool tag that I got from Lauren Mormino that I bought. And because of you, I'm going to be making this into a Loki bag. That's why you kind of see the Loki colors. And I wanted to use something marble. All right, so we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Now you can have long tails and pull the tails to the back of the placket after after it's done. You can pull all the threads back so it's seamless. I sometimes love that method, but I also love back stitching because I feel like it's a little bit more secure than my hands, but that again is personal preference. Okay, so My one thing I do when I'm doing plackets is I reduce my stitching to like on this machine a 2.5 or 3 depending on what I'm using, because then I can hit the curves better. So I always start on the straight edge, and I'm going to back stitch 1 or 2 stitches, and I'm just going to ride this so that way it's 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and my toe is just gliding next to the raw edge. Now, when you get to the curve, I just kind of, the reason why I do smaller stitches is I can turn it and it's not, the stitches are not going to go all wonky. And then if I have to hold the position down so I can get a tighter curve, I can do so. And I'm going to make sure that my marble is underneath there, because it's kind of pulling, not the back. So always readjusting. All right. I have a tendency of back stitching over anything that I think might, if it got, the tag got pulled, I don't want it to come out. So my key, what I do for facings is have shorter stitch length so I can rotate it. I love when that happens. Okay, so you got, I always tell people to become one with your machine, because once you know all your machine's hiccups, it'll become easy for you to hit a corner and have no skip stitches or anything along those lines. So what you have to do from here is we're going to snip carefully inside, and we're going to go all the way. And then I like to stick my needle right underneath the placket and cut, not cutting into the placket, right underneath. Then once that's done, if you're nervous about this part, if you have duck bill scissors because you're a quilter or you for your garments, this is the perfect thing, because duck bills will protect the layer that you're trying not to cut and only cut the layer that you want to. I'm using just regular shears. I purely got them because they were rose gold, but they're really sharp, so be careful and just take your time. You totally got this. If I can do it, you can do it. You definitely can. We all just, some have to go slower, which I have noticed that since I feel like I've been improving in bag making. I go extremely slow now. When I used to just be like, I'm done, I'm fast. Now I'm just like, no, take your time. It's so worth it. We're gonna grab now our satchel pocket pieces, zipper pieces, and we're going to sew our our zipper pockets. I can't talk today. Our zipper pockets to our zippers. So over here at the machine, I have the right side of the waterproof canvas. The right side has like you can feel like a cotton woven. This side you actually can press. It's still plastic, so if you don't take your heat off of it, it can melt. The wrong side is either shiny or matte, but you could visibly feel the difference and see the difference. Like, look at that. That's apples and oranges. So we're going to now take this to our machine, and we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch or 1/8, whatever is easier for you. All right, and then we're going to take the other side, right side's up, wrong sides of the zipper touching. You could pop a couple clips in here if it will help, but like you could just, like, you know, this area is kind of bowing out and you don't want it to bow while you're sewing. Pop some clips in. And just be cognizant of your zipper pull. Sometimes I don't put my zipper pull on until I'm done with this part. So that way I know it's like a nice even straight line. I'm going to trim my threads. And then I'm going to take some more double-sided tape. You're going to hear me say double-sided tape a lot. And first I'm going to get my seam roller. And if you're doing cotton, you can hit, again, the iron is beautiful. If you're doing waterproof canvas like me, I like to position my my zipper tape how I want it to be zipped to. I want it to be zipped left to right. But if you want it right to left, by all means, do what you think is right. There's no rule book that's saying anything. It's all personal preference. Oops. Okay. We're going to put our double-sided tape at the ends of the zipper. And if you want to, you can use your seam roller to just make sure that it adheres really good. Then I'm going to take this double-sided tape off. On both, and then your zipper pull is going to get caught up in the stickiness no matter what. Ooh, I keep on knocking over the cameras. Okay. I like to make sure that my zippers are centered, so I try to work with one side at a time. Sometimes I can just lay it on and it's there. But try to center your zippers in the middle. On the sides in the middle. That's what I focus on first. Then I'll pull the zipper pull up. And my zipper tape I got is from Serial Bag Maker. Her black and green is awesome because I like to make a lot of superheroes out of bags. And she has really awesome zipper colors. Okay, and I'm going to readjust this side one more time because I'm not happy with it. If you're not happy, readjust it as much as you need until it makes you feel happy. And I think man, I'm telling you, this zipper tape, this double-sided tape always has my nail polish coming off. What you're going to do is you're going to open this up. I'm just going to finger press this open. We're going to stitch around. So one side of your pocket is up, the other side of the pocket is inside the exterior, inside the interior, and we're going to sew all the way around, and it's going to close off the zipper on the top part so the zipper pull won't fall off. So for this, I'm going to start on the sides, back stitch 1 or 2 stitches. And honestly, I love stitching on the sides because I feel like it's such a, an area that gets a lot of like pulling. So I like to, I can't talk. I like to reinforce that area with a couple stitches. Always stop with your needle down and pivot. you know, you can put clips on here if you want to, but once you have them going the two opposite ways, it wants to move. So it'll stay put. But you can roll it up and put a couple clips in it if you wish. Whatever makes you secure and happy with, more comfortable, not happy, comfortable. All right. So we are going to snip the threads. And then we're going to take this and go to the back and just even up stitching, and we're on page 16. We're going to close off this pocket. We're going to start on one side and then go down, across, and up again. Back stitching well at the beginning and end. Always start needle down over. And then just hold your other side down. Kind of, if it's double side tape sticking to it, just kind of adjust it a little bit. All right. Now, from here, you can leave it how it is, or if you want to bling it out a little bit, like I'm about to do, you could add some rivets. So I would add a rivet to the ends, and then probably a rivet on one side of here. I would get my hole puncher and punch out the holes. And then make sure I don't get the pocket, because that would not be awesome. Okay. Then I would grab some rivets. And place a rivet, and then get I'm using my rivet press for Mikas and Margot. And we're setting the rivets. It gives it a little, well, because I'm doing Loki, so he's glorious and extra, so I have to be a little extra. This hole, it does not, there we go. I was like, this hole does not want me to work. Putting my cap on. I'm using extra small rivets. And then I'm going to put a rivet through this hole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a backing. It's just, I'm going to use some just regular old vinyl that's like scraps. I keep a lot of scraps around. And I'm going to punch a hole through. I folded the scraps in 3 places so that way it can help. There won't be pulling. If it gets pulled, the rivet won't pull through because it has something backing it. And then I'm going to squish this under. Make sure my rivet is set properly. And I felt the 2 clicks. So I'm ready to go. So we did this on the one, you would do the other side, and that's the beauty of this. I love this pattern because it has 2 fancy zipper pockets on both sides and 2 fancy slip pockets. So we have that. The next we're going to go and we're going to start constructing the optional center divider. If you're not going to do this step, just fast forward, but I think it's an awesome thing to have. We have our 2, you need your zipper, and then you need to put your zipper pull on, and then we're going to take our zipper ends and we are going to, you can fold in half and then have the shorter ends meet, and we have our zipper, our little sandwich. We're going to stick our zipper in here, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And to make sure everything stays together, you can pop a couple clips in there. And we're now going to do the center divider pocket. So I have my pieces for that, and I have 2 vinyl pieces and 2 white waterproof canvases. We are going to take the zipper pocket, lay it right sides down, and we're going to make some markings to make sure that our zipper is going to be in the right position. What I'm still going to do, I always do this no matter what, is I find my centers, V, and make a little V here. And then I'm going to fold the zipper on itself. And I'm just going to make a mark if it wants to show up really well, showing the centers. And then I'm just going to place my center right on top. And then what I like to do is I like to base stitch first. Notice that I have the right sides of the exterior fabric up and the zipper is facing down. And then you could just move your zipper pull out of the way. And I'm just continuing on my 1/8 of an inch. All right, then we're going to grab one of our interior pieces and we're going to place it right sides together, and we're going to sew we're going to sew 1/4 of an inch. When you get close to the zipper, needle down and just adjust it where the zipper head goes past the point that you have. And then we're just going to snip the threads. And we're just going to We're not top stitching just yet. Just trying to get it where the pieces want to lay a little bit flatter. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Now you could use double-sided tape to secure the first part. I do, again, when my machine is starting to gum up, I usually just automatically find centers, because you can't go wrong with clipping a little bit of the center and finding the right area. And then I'm going to find my center on my zipper and clip that. And we're going to, again, I'm going to base this on using 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Okay, and let me get this thread. And then I'm going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch. I'm getting close to the zipper, so I'm just going to move the pull. I mean, zipper. I'm getting close to the zipper pull. Getting close to the zipper. Yeah, you want to get to that 1/4 of an inch. All right. Okay, you want to press open the lining of the pocket, and we're going to be doing some top stitching. Okay. She also recommends labels at this point if you're going to do it. When I'm going to top stitch, I'm going to actually top stitch from the zipper end to zipper end. It gives a nicer, it's easier to turn these out when they're not top stitched. I'm going to do a small back stitch. I want to show you. Don't hold your breath. You got this. I'd say that with me holding my breath a lot when I top stitch, because it's going to be the stitching that's seen. So you're like, I want it to be really nice. And then we're going to take it to the machine, and then we're going to do it again on this side and just clip and tug, and you'll be fine. If you're a person that's like, hey, I'm really nervous about sewing, I also encourage people to make it a muslin, especially if this is going to be a bag that you want to sell or you want it for yourself and you're going to make it with some really expensive materials. Sometimes I make muslins out of like using muslin or a cheaper fabric that I got on sale, and then it gives me a feel of the the pattern and the pattern designer. Okay. So we have all of this. We're going to do some clipping. We're going to pin and clip all 4 layers of the divider, and we're going to use basting at 1/4 of an inch. We're just clipping it all together. Take your time. I like to go back and forth just to make sure I'm catching everything. 1/4 of an inch basting is a very generous basting, so I'm really glad that we have that, so it could prevent us not missing any layers. So we're going to take it over to the machine, do 1/4 of an inch in basting. Okay. Okay. The interior gusset are a little longer for ease. So we're going to take our time. We're going to grab one of our lining pieces, and we're going to grab our exterior pieces. One of them. And again, I'm going to always find your centers. It just helps out tremendously. Because I'm using vinyl, the interior pieces are, again, not, there's no stabilizers. What I start with is I always put my clip so the V matches, and I kind of clip going towards if a curve is too much, I'll snip, probably because I think it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so I'll either snip in like 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna put some clips. We're about to get super clippy with it. Okay, one side's done. We're going to do the same thing on this side. On one of the lining pieces, we're going to leave a small opening so that we could turn the bag through it. it says leave, she says on step 7B, to leave an opening in the inner gusset front lining, believed 10 inches or 25 centimeters open at the bottom. So we'll do that on the last, when we do the last step for the interior. Sorry, I can hear my son. All right, so it's making sure your pocket's out of there. Hold on just 1 second. I just noticed that one of my zippers, not one of my zippers, one of my rivets didn't set. So I'm taking it back over to the machine and setting it. All right, so we're going to go over here and we're going to sew using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And just follow the curve of the bag and how you flipped it. And I'm trying to see if my, there it is. Stiletto. I love using a stiletto because I can pull raw edges without having my finger close to there inside, you know. Take your time around the curves. Make sure that the fold of the fabric is not, it can be above the stitch line but not below it, or it's going to show. Okay. All right, and then we're going to trim this up. We're going to trim this off so that way one side doesn't like it position it incorrectly. So we are going to now take our center divider. Now this is crucial here. Put your zipper pulls facing the same direction. If I do it this way, then I have one zipper facing the other. Well, it can get frustrating. So me personally, I like to take my zipper pulls and make sure that they're going the same direction. We're going to clip around this as well. And same thing, I go outwards. This one's not going to match the back because it's a center divider. Clip as much as or little as you want. When it comes down to gussets, I clip a lot. Clipping around that curve. Okay. So both sides are clipped. So we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to sew a 1/2 inch, back stitching at the beginning and end. And it's not, again, not going to line up to the back center pocket because the center divider needs to be a little bit lower so that we can birth it. So because we're going to sandwich it in. So we can top stitch and all that stuff without having to try to move around the center divider. And I'm just trying to make sure the needle is down when I'm moving. This bag shape is super curvy, so just take your time so you can enjoy the results of your labor when you're all done. Okay. So we're going to now work on the other side. But look how cool this is. So you have your pocket and then you have this really cool center pocket. So we're going to put this one on the side for just a moment and we're going to grab our other piece and we're going to now we have the center marks. We're going to make 2 marks in here. And we need to also make our openings. So we're going to make some stopping and starting marks. At least 10 inches. So I'm making the center mark the mark that I'm going to use 5 inches on both sides. All right. So now we're going to find our centers and then we're going to start clipping again outwards. You don't want to go too far into a curve, but at the same, you want to like finish the curve, but leave a lot open because it's really weird. I used to try to make smaller openings in birth and sit there and struggle. And then I realized if the mouth of the bag when you're birthing is bigger, it's easier to hide the seam that you have to stitch it closed with because it'll look more consistent on the bottom of the bag. So it looks more intentional. And at least that's what I see. And that's what the end results I like. You also can like have one pocket be open so you can close up the lining and nobody can see. It's your discretion. Always feel like I'm saying viewer discretion advised. Let's see. I'm still clipping around the areas that I'm not going to be sewing so that way I guess it still can do the same shape that it was doing before. I know it's confusing because you're like, hey Shinova, why are you using clips there? I'm going to remove them before I sew so I know to stop and start, but I wanted to make sure everything fits nicely. All right, so I'm going to have the center one and we're going to stop and start. So it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're we're going to start here. I'm using a 40 weight polyester thread, and as soon as I said that, I wanted to, because I didn't hold the stitches. And on the bottom is, I think it's not 40 weight. I think it's like 30. It's a strong polyester, but I think the one on the bottom is a Gutermann. And I noticed that next to Saba, it's a little lighter. So when I want to have a thicker thread on top, I usually have a lighter thread on the bottom. So the machine's not struggling. And the Juki that I'm using tomorrow night to finish this bag, it's completely different. I can use heavy thread on the bottom and the top, and I like using it because I like to use it as a feature. You'll see tomorrow that I'm going to be using like a gold thread because I want it to be a feature of the bag, and I love contrast stitching. But for the interior, I like to sometimes not have it because just in case you make an oopsie or whatever, it's easy to hide. Easier to hide. And I'm going to backstitch a couple times very well on our opening. And then I'm going to take my thread and just drag it over to our next position where we have to do our stop and start. And then a couple back stitches. And then we're going to start. Oops. Thread down, needle down. And remove clips as we go. Wrinkles above the needle bar, fine. Wrinkles below, not fine. Take your time, it's going to be worth it. And then you're going to be like super proud of all your incredible bag making skills. Okay, and we're almost to the top, so we're gonna back stitch. All right, we're going to trim our threads. And then we're going to trim our gusset part. We have our opening, and now it's time to merge these two together. So I'm going to clip the center. This is so cool. It's kind of like an accordion. I get happy about the little things. I love new shapes. And the second time you pin the gusset, you'll notice that the gusset kind of just automatically wants to go into the curves and fold into itself because you already did one side. It just naturally wants to do it. I think this is a really cool feature. If you're opting not to have it, I understand, but I think you can do it, and it'll be a really cool feature, and you'll like your bag so much because you have now like a hidden compartment where you can put candy. I'm really big on having hidden compartments for candy. You hear me say it. I love candy. Or you can put like, notepad, cell phone, pens, the norm. But a hidden compartment for candy is generally what I'm going for right now. And we're just clipping all the pieces together. It's a lot of layers that we're going to be going through on this one because we're going through our interior, 2 interior pieces. Then you have the 4 pieces that are that are I can't talk today. That are the divider, center divider. So we are going to start and stop again at a 1/2 inch and go all the way around. Making sure you fold back your other gusset piece and you're not accidentally sewing that. That would be unfortunate, and then you're going to have to do some unpicking and you're going to be mad. I'll be mad with you. Back stitch, and just make sure that the other gusset from the first part of the pan, the first one we did, it's just not in the way. It's a little bit thicker, and if you have to, switch your needles. I do that all the time. If I know I'm doing lining and it's going to be not as much, I'll just switch my needles into a thicker one. And if I know, a thinner one, just make sure your needle corresponds with whatever, just moving the other gusset out of the way, corresponds to your needle size. Because sometimes when you get skipped stitches, it could be that you're not using the right needle. Sorry, I'm just making sure that this other side that keeps trying to creep through doesn't come through. Okay. So yeah, when I get skip stitches and I'm like, why am I doing this? I gotta check to see if my needle is the appropriate size, because your needle, the eye of the needle for like 70 weight thread and 90 is so different from 40 weight. So that's just something to think of. You know who has a really good information about threads? Is go to Superior Thread, and they explain threads and needles and what needle you should use for, like, you know, what threads you want to use so well. I go in there all the time when I have like new weights of thread and I'm trying to figure out what needle size. So make sure that yeah, I'm going to, all right. So we have our opening, we have our center divider, and then this is the opening that we have. This is super cute. Look at that. We put together the total interior. We have our interior all set. Like this, I think is more detail oriented than our exterior. So tomorrow when you see me in another like hairstyle or nail polish or whatever, because it's the next day and we're going to be filming the exterior. We're going to be filming on a Juki 1541S. That one is for heavy duty. It is a compound walking foot, and you get to see me use that. I'll be using either 70 weight or 90 weight thread. I haven't decided, and we will go from there and we'll put together the exterior, and then we'll birth this bad boy and have some fun. But this is super cool. Like, very creative. Lanyos, you are creative. So I will see you then, and Future Nova, this bag is cool. I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to be starting with the exterior. We just got done with this beautiful interior with the pockets, and there's a lot of pockets in this bag. So that's a bonus point. Oh my goodness, it's one of those days where I can't talk. Bonus points. So what we're going to grab now for our exterior pockets, we're going to grab the front sewing pocket for the front of the bag. So let's grab these real quick. So if you're following along, you're going to need your pattern piece. It says 3 from pocket, and it has 2 critical measurements on there where it's for your snap placements, but we have to sew in darts. So we have to sew in darts. I sewed it on the lining, and I made the marking of where I need to put a magnet. So we have this front piece that we need to sew. So I'm going to take it over to this area, to my sewing machine. And this is the Juki 15, I'm sorry, 15, why can't I ever remember? 1541S. And I'm just, the lines that I made, there's 3 lines for the dart, and I'm just lining it up and going into the middle of where that line is. So that way everything is even. We are going to create our dots. We're going to sew along the fabric. And whenever I sew with this one particular gold thread, it frays so bad. But it's okay because I want this color, so I'm going to work with it. Okay. Do not backstitch if you're using cork. You can tie off the ends. You want to go right to the dart. And again, if you're using cork, you stop here and you can tie off the ends, so that you can't see any back stitches on the front of this pocket. Cutting threads. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm using a 4.5 stitch length. I have text 70 in my machine. It's gold. It's really, really pretty. I'm trying to remember where I got it. I think this gold I got from Wizardly Stitcherly, if I'm not mistaken. They have like a really distinct, like, top of the, what is that called? Like top of a spool thread. So we have these really cute darts, and we're going to sew the front linings right sides together. We're going to pop a couple clips. Let's pop a couple clips in here. You can use as few or as many clips as you want. There's really no, there's nothing wrong with it. We're going to sew at a 1/2 inch back stitch in the beginning and end. Trim your tails, little thread tails. Okay. Then we're going to measure put the mel half into the lining, the mel half of a magnet. We're going to need 2 magnets, but my outside magnet is kind of different. So we're going to start with putting the mel in on this side. And I think pretty sure I had some scraps of vinyl, or there they are. I have scraps of like old interfacing that didn't add up. So we're gonna work with the lines that were placed on there, and I'm just going to make a mark. I'm going to place a piece of stabilizer. Like, you know how you have scraps? I always like to keep them because you never know. I'm just going to place it right over this. I'm going to grab a small X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to slice. Not extremely long, but make sure there's enough. And I have a habit of, this is waterproof canvas, and it frays a little. It really doesn't fray like cotton woven or canvas. Oh my goodness, canvas frays so bad. So I'm putting the glue there for just extra reinforcement. I'm just going to take it to the back. And I'm going to press that in. So we have our mel. And oh, very important tip. If you're ironing, do not iron over your magnet. It makes it no longer where it's a magnet. It's demagnetized. I think that's the word I'm looking for. So now we're going to put a female half in the front area here. I'm just like loosely putting my fabric over it. So I'm going to grab this and this. Okay, getting my X-Acto knife, trying to have my magnet not go on top of my machine, and I'm going to center and just be careful you don't nick yourself and don't like slash a huge hole. Putting my X-Acto knife away, grabbing. I love glue, and it's just, for me, I feel like it's an extra, just like an extra security. You don't have to do it by any means. It's just me being weird. Be careful with the glue because it can not stain, but it can ruin your vinyl, and it's incredibly hard to get off. Taking my Phillips head driver and just pressing these down. All right, so we have our magnets. I'm gonna move my little cutting board, and let's see. We are going to fuse everything, and then we're going to we're gonna do some top stitching through all the layers, and I'm just putting some clips in here so I can roll down. I think we're gonna top stitch very carefully at 1/8 of an inch because we have a magnet on the bottom. If you're watching this before you sew it, I definitely would recommend top stitching before, but it's personal preference. I'm going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. When I get to the magnet area, I'm just going to be extra careful. You do have like a clearance of almost 1/4 of an inch, but it's always wise to, you know, be cautious. All right. Okay. Then we're going to grab one of our pockets, our back pockets, our front pocket, one of our front, like body number 1. We're going to grab this, and before, let me trim my X's off. I'm super bad. I always have like X's interfacing our stabilizer, and I'm like, yeah, I need to trim this. Because if you don't trim it, you can act like it's a part of the seam allowance when it's not. So that you have, again, another magnetic mark. We're going to have the female. I'm just going to... This has interface in it, so I don't need to add extra stability. If you can, if you feel like it is necessary. Just put 2 little slits. Be careful. Do not cut yourself. It's time for me to get another beacons, I think. I'll just dab of glue. See, this has like, I have Bouncy Firm in here from Cereal Bag Maker. I ran out of foam, so as I'm waiting for my phone, I was like, hey, let me use Bouncy Firm. And I always generally like the results with it because it's thin, but just imagine like a thin foam. All right, so we're going to put these together, all layers. So I'm going to first have my flaps go in the opposite direction so there's not a huge bulk. Then I'm going to clip. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And clip. And we're just going to clip this together. One thing I noticed on her pattern that I've never seen someone else do is on all her cotton, she does like a serging. And I cannot help but think that is incredibly smart because you're preventing any chance of fraying with cotton. I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards waterproof canvas, is the fear of fraying. The beautiful thing about cotton, though, you have endless choices of what you can make your bag. It's not just solid colors or it's just not solid colors. Oh man, that snaps so nicely together. I am going to do the same. You're just kind of molding it because this is going to be this pocket is meant to be puff out because it's to fill things. That's why you have a magnetic snap there, because it's a very nice sized pocket. So we're just matching raw edges to raw edges. The body needs to be you just need to work on it, just molding, and you want the same sides on both sides, because if it's not the same, it'll look kind of wonky. And I'm just measuring the front pocket. It needs to lay 2 inches down, So I have my ruler and I'm just remeasuring because it did not lay 2 inches down. One side did and the other side was like 1.5 inches. Okay. Okay, now everything is nice and correct. I'm just going to lay the ruler down. That whole measure once scenario. If you want, you can flip your ruler or whatever you have in place just to make sure. I'm doing that just on double. All right. Everything's set. We're going to base this on. You can use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch. I always back stitch. Move this. I have to like move things while I'm sewing because the work area on these sewing machines, you feel like you would have a lot of room, but realistically you don't. The machine takes up so much of it, and if you have like a beverage or your clips or bowls on it, it quickly gets cluttered fast. Take your time on the curves. Make sure raw edges matches with raw edges. Okay, we have our front pocket done. All right, so we're going to go now to page 28, and this part of the part is that you would take your magnet, your flap, you would put your magnet on the lining so it could fuse. Now I have a different kind of magnet. I'm making the Loki bag, so I actually have a magnet that has a plate in the front and the back. So when I do this, I actually have to install this when it's fully in order for it to, like, the full flap will need to be fully in, so that way it can have the magnet works. If I put the head in and not the back, then I will have no magnet. So if you don't have this, like a special magnet, you would take your magnet, draw your lines, because this would be your lining panel, and put stabilizer on the back, just like we did before. So now we're going to get ready to put our everything together. We're going to get our clips. We're going to get pattern. We're going to be making the strap ends. And so you need your pattern piece, and you definitely need your 13-inch straps. So if you cut the directions where you have just two pieces of cork, you edge painted them, it's fine. I'm going to not do pieces of cork because this vinyl, I want to say it's Rex from Emmeline, is not very thick. So I took a piece, instead of having two 1-inch pieces, I took a 4-inch piece, and I'm going to fold it down the center. So this is where we start. We're going to start 1/8 of, so 1/8 of it, 1/8 of an inch, up and down this. And if you need to put clips just to ensure that your straps are, bumping up together, they're not overlapping, do so. I'm going to do that right now. And we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to back stitch because the back stitch is going to either be caught in the seam allowance on the top or on the bottom when you're putting your decorative steps. Like there are some people that she has where it has rectangles. I'm going to do strap ends because I have these really pointy ones that are gold that I've been waiting to put on something. So this is my chance. Okay, so what I normally do, so I'll just hop over a few stitches. And I will start sewing 1/8 of an inch on the other side. Okay. And for my, I have a plate that I got from Sewing Gold, Steve from Sewing Gold, and 1 is 1/8 of an inch, 2 is 1/4 of an inch, 3 is 3/8 of an inch, and 4 is a 1/2 inch, and 5 of course is 5/8. So because I have that, it's easy to monitor. But I also have this seam gauge that you can put down. There's magnets, there's so many things. I sometimes use tape, so just to help me get to this center part. So right now what we'll do is you have to grab your pattern piece, and there are certain hole placements that are on here that you would need to punch your hole. So what I like to do is I definitely like to use the template, and I'm going to take my hole puncher and punch the holes. You can transfer them and do it. I do the paper as a template because it just is easier for my mind to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. So we now punched our holes. Some holes. This one is acting up. Okay. We punched our holes, and now we're going to put them on the front part of our flat. So as you can see, I did one, and we're going to repeat and do another one. There's measurements that go inside, and by doing that, this should be exactly, let's see, I believe it's roughly 3.5 inches apart. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some clips. I'm going to take some clips. And then I'm making sure they're the same measurement down here than they are up there. So I'm going to pop a clip on both sides, and making that little adjustment happens because if you have your if you don't stitch properly on this end, you go like this let's pretend this is 2 inches apart and you made the bottom 3, it's going to look awkward. So measurements are key in this. So what we have to do is we have to sew to 9 inches down from the top. So I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm just going to make a mark at 9 inches on both sides. All right. I'm going to move my hole puncher aside, and you can follow stitch in the ditch, the same stitch. I'm going to go 1/8 because I like the way that looks away. And my foot is exactly 1/8, so that's how I know I'm sewing 1/8 inch away. And I'm going to do a back stitch. Then I'm going to turn my bag around. I'm dragging the thread so it's consistent. And I'm going to sew the 9 inches down. It's like rubbing against the paper, so it sounds weird. Okay. So then we're going to trim our ends. All right. And then, all right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to repunch these holes. I'm going to put my pattern aside. We're going to repunch these holes because we're going to put some rivets. Now this is optional. You don't have to do it. I just like the way it does look because it's like a satchel and it kind of looks like a cool mystery bag. like something that Indiana Jones would carry. Yes, I said Indiana Jones. All right. So she also mentions Chicago screws. I love Chicago screws because I feel like they really I just feel like they're easier than rivets and they keep it really secure. So I have a special one that is a Loki one that I got from Alchemats, and I'm going to stick that one in the middle. Come over to the back. And then I'm going to put a screw in there. Get my little screwdriver. Okay. And I'm just going to give it a nice, make sure it's nice and tight as I have it positioned. Then I'm going to grab 2 small rivets. And okay. Stick the male part into it. Grab the female parts. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my rivet setter. I got this again at Mika's and Margo. They're on Etsy. And I set both rivets. I have like a rogue thread. And then what I'm going to do is put a strap in. Now, you could put in the pattern, she has like these really cool D rings. I mean, square rings that you kind of fold it on itself, and it just looks really cool. I have this strappy one that is really pointy, and I immediately wanted to put this on a bag if I created a Loki. So you're coming along with me on this journey of me making a Loki bag. When I get a piece like this, and it's when I get strap-ins like this, I just try to carefully make sure that they're as straight as possible. Everything lines up nice and neat. And then I'm going to tighten some screws. And then they're little baby screws. That humming in the background is my washing machine. My youngest daughter, she always seems to be washing her clothes before she has to go to school, like the night before. And then she'll be like, "Kid, someone get it out and put it in the dryer." And you're like, "Wait a minute, you had all day. You waited until like 9 o'clock at night to start doing your laundry." She's funny though. Okay. So we have our straps, and then we're going to grab the pattern real quick after we have that all squared away. She places tape over these, which is actually really smart. I'm trying to see if I have any tape. I might have to temporarily clip them in place. I hate clipping vinyl or cork because it sometimes leaves a mark, and it's not fun. So we're going to put this in place, and then you'll notice that on my front and on my back I do have the placement for the magnet. So we're going to clip this all the way around. And we are going to stitch this at a 1/2 inch. And back stitch really well at the beginning and end. Now this does have curves. I always encourage people before they sew, try to make like a sandwich of the material you're going to be using to see how well your machine does with the thickness, and also just play around with having your machine do like going in a circle. As you can see, like my hands are going in, and I'm just slowing down when I'm doing curves, and I stop when you need to. Make sure it's on kneel down. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over again just the bottom half, because that curve was a lot, and I just want to ensure that it is my best for 1/2 inch. And I'm gonna stop. See, it was slightly off by like 1/8 inch, but we caught it ahead of time. So and then we're gonna cut the foam out around the seam allowance, which is super hard for me because I basted this on. what I might do actually is just cut out the seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch that has the foam, so it could like lay like nicer. Because I didn't have fusible foam. I'm waiting for my foam to come in the mail, so I used one that you have to baste. So instead of just cutting out the foam, I'm just going to cut out this layer. Getting close to your stitching, but not cutting through it. So we're on page 31. We're going to, after we sew, we measure everything's perfect. We're going to turn this right down to 1/4 of an inch. Not the foam part, but we did that close to 1/8. This helps reduce bulk. So when I first start making bags, I despise cutting down seam allowances, but the more I notice you do it, the nicer your curves look in your bags, and it's sharper, it's cleaner, it's flat. Let's see. I'm just using my hands. And then I'm going to grab my handy dandy chopstick. And I'm just going to poke out those curves nice and smooth, and not something sharp, because you don't want to accidentally poke a hole through that, because then you would need to turn it back wrong sides out, okay? And you just would need to stitch above the line that you made the mark with, like 1/8 of an inch, but that 1/8 of an inch has to go through the whole entire body so it doesn't look wonky. That's my sewing term for today. Wonky. So I'm gonna take some clips and I'm just rolling the seams so they're nice and flat. And you want to make sure your you just want to make sure your ends are really rounded and there's no pointy bits. I think I got it. All right, we're going to top stitching. You need to do it now, and I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. Let me see. We're going to top stitch right now. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch. I back stitch in the beginning and end because you're not going to see the back stitch once the bag's all done. Take your time when you're top stitching. Clip if you want to make sure your seams are rolling too much in towards itself. Remember just to breathe. You completely got this. There's no contest. It doesn't matter how fast you can sew or how slow you can sew. It matters about accuracy and taking your time, because at the end of this bag you want to feel like you're accomplishing something, and you are. Just breathe. So we have our front pocket. I'm going to keep these clips there in case we need to keep out of the way. We're going to now install our magnet. I just have that screwdriver. I hate what happened. Just had that screwdriver. Where did you go? Let's see. Let me grab another one. I hate when that happens. Like it just, I don't know about you, but I have stuff that magically disappears while I'm working. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? Grab another one. Luckily I try to keep one of these baby screwdrivers with me in every area of the house because this happens way too frequently. You'd be surprised how long it happens, how many times it happens. And let's see. Bingo. Luckily, we only need it for this one part. When we put straps in, you can occasionally do that. I'm gonna take this Loki. I'm gonna take the screws. Oh my goodness, the screwdriver was inside the hardware box. Oh, Nova. Okay. Of course. Sorry, I'm trying to take these screws out and they're not budging. There's always one that wants to like stay. And this is the one that's doing it. So what I'm going to do is, I got two now. I'm going to get this last screw out and then we're going to put the magnet right there. And you'll see how I install that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I'm sorry about that. My screws were stuck and I didn't want you to go through that. So I took out all 3 screws and then you take out there's a plate in the front and there's a plate in the back. So what you do, they're going to screw into each other, but I need to first create some holes. I'm centering my Loki where the magnet's going to be. Actually, I need to do this. Hello, Shinova. I'm going to need to center where the magnet's going to be. And the holes that I need to punch. so that way it can just okay. I'm gonna grab my hole punch and I'm going to kind of squish my fabric, create some holes. Then I'm going to take my front of the magnet and see if the holes are big enough, which I think they might be. I'm going to push the holes, the magnet, not the magnet, the marks through the holes. As best I can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the the magnet, I'm going to put the mel and this could be a process. It's tedious at first, but then when you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, it was so worth it. My bag looks amazing. And sometimes I put glue, but I wait until I put the last screw in to see if everything's positioned right. I don't tighten the screws all the way because I want to make sure every screw if I have to shift it a little bit to get it into the hole, it should be fine. I love these decorative magnets because I feel like it gives you a little bit cool flair. Then I tighten. And then let's flip it. That is so glorious. Absolutely glorious. Oops. All right. So now I'll keep up, which I believe I made, but did I make that? No, I don't. Yes, it is. See, show yeah. You can use the optional key strap and put it through a tube and have it full and have like no sides showing. I could not do that. I couldn't turn this into a tube for the life of me. I think it's like this. It's because it's this duck cloth and it's ironing it's hard, doing everything to it's hard. It's kind of a fussy fabric. I don't remember where I got this. I want to say fabric.com, but I don't remember. I'm just top stitching. One-eighth of an inch on the key. Trimming, and then we're going to grab our key. This is to help find your keys, or we're going to slide it up about 1 inch. And you can top stitch this closed. You can put a rivet through it. I'm going to put this first top stitch, kind of make it into like a box so that way just put like a little X on it. So that way we have a nice little optional keychain, not keychain, but it's similar to a key. It holds everything together. We're gonna put this aside for now. I'm gonna put this we're going to grab our gusset piece. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we're going to first make our straps, our strap connectors for the okay, you're like, why do you have red ribbon? So for our D-ring pieces, you just get it normally. You can use Decibel Light, like you could put a strip of Decibel Light, or you could put like in pretty much anything. But what I like to use is when these ribbons are on sale, the cross grain ribbons, when they're on sale at Michael's or Joann's or Hobby Lobbies, I just pick up whatever color, and it will prevent the vinyl from stretching, cork from stretching. It's a really great technique, and it doesn't cost a lot, and it gives your bags a really good end result. We're going to bring it over to the machine, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And then while I'm over here, I'll just start gently folding this side, because I already used double-sided tape to tape the ribbon in. And we're going to go 1/8 of an inch. I also use, sometimes I use like twill tape. I have that because I use it sometimes for binding, but I also have like a smaller size, like 1/8 of it, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and it helps with this construction. It doesn't move. You have a lot of strength because of that. So we're going to grab 2 rectangle rings. We're going to just slide this on. And we're going to we reinforced it, and we're going to she put twill tape too as well. It helps tremendously. It just that cross it's just really light. It's inexpensive, and it's easy to get. So we're going to put these aside. We're going to make you repeat the very same project for your side rings. The ones that she has on there are super adorable. You can take them and edge coat. I put 2 on one side and put cross grain down the middle, and you can make 2 on one side. And I made my gusset where it has I stitched it down and I riveted it down, and we're going to show you how I do it on this side. So I grab your pattern piece, center it, and I just mark top of my tab, has to be. So then I also grab a little bit of double-sided tape, You can do tape or beacon glue, whatever is easier for you. And this is not going to be part of your stitching line, so you should be okay. And I'm putting the top of matching the line that we just drew from the placement. And I'm going to go probably 3/8 of an inch down, go down, across, and up again. And you can pull your threads to the back so they won't be noticeable, but I back stitch. I think it gives it a little bit of character, gives it strength, and if it goes back exactly in the ditch, you're really not going to notice. At least I don't think you. I just want to make sure that it has the structure. And I'm going to move this, clip our threads. All right, so what I did for this one, I wanted 2 rivets on the top and 1 on the bottom. I got my, I believe this is from, the letter's getting me, Carolina Stitches, and I just purchased this and I thought it was cool because I, for some odd reason, have a hard time making my rivets look straight, so this is a lifesaver. I'm going down 1/4 of an inch from where each line is. Grab my hole puncher. And again, you don't have to rivet. I just like the way rivets look. Then I'm going to grab my rivets. I'm going to grab 3 males and 3 females. And I'm using the small size. Rivets are optional. I like them because I like them for the security, but sometimes they just look so pretty on a bag. And when I am normally not in the I'm always in the basement, but if I'm not, I'm not filming at night, then I love to set them by hand. I go over to my concrete floor and I set them, and I don't know, I like hammering stuff, but when I'm filming at night, I don't want to wake up any neighbors, because I live in Maryland and I own a townhouse, and we have 2 townhouses right beside us, and you know, you don't want to wake your neighbors. Maybe you do. So I'm going to set these. I'm going to set them. With my rivet press, it gives like a give. Like you can feel it visibly. You can feel the rivets pressing down on each other. Like 2 clicks and it's done. All right, so we're going to start putting this bag together. We're going to find our centers. So I'm going to move some of this stuff. And when I find my centers, I like to put clips in them, so that way I know everything is really centered. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top. All right. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to find our centers. So I'm going to clip the short ends at the raw edge and find my centers. All right. And I always start by clipping by the center mark and then making sure that this is going to fit. I'm going to start clipping. I'm going to trim this in because it doesn't match the other side. I don't want to have that in my seam allowance. I like to trim from bottom going to up, especially if we have a nice curve, because this pattern is really generous actually on I need to grab some more clips. It's really, this pattern is super generous for the curve, so I just want to make sure I have everything clipped in place. Take your time. And just make sure you get all the raw edges to meet the raw edges. And work out any extra you have in the seam allowance, like any extra fabric that's trying to go the wrong way. Just take your time. I use a lot of clips when I'm on it. Sometimes I try the stapler, but I'm not going to lie to you, I am always petrified when I do it, like always. Just working around the ease, spreading it out, and we're good to go. All right, so let's get this party started. We're going to back stitch at the beginning and end, and we're going 1/4, not 1/4, we're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm just trying to make sure that the extra fabric for the ease is not stretching. No puckers. your time. I'm it uses a lot. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Because it eases so much. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Read the directions, Nova. All right. In the directions, it says that the gusset is going to be longer than your the seam. So just match everything from the center seam and then clip out. And it'll be the same exact size on both ends. So we're going to start by, again, with the 1/2 inch. I had to unpick mine, so and you're going to back stitch well in the beginning and end. Oops, clips are flying. And then trimming our threads. All right. So once we have 7/8, we're going to cut away. We're going to for excess. Now we're going to trim off the outer gussets to match the front. Basically, you want everything to match. Okay. Sorry, I'm trimming off excess, just making sure everything matches. All right. Then I'm going to grab, sorry, I'm looking at the instructions too. I'm going to grab I'm going to grab the back. And I'm going to show you where you would put your D-ring straps if you're doing that. I just opted to put them on the side because she had really nice bag tabs. So there's, like I said, there is nothing but options in here, and I really appreciate that. Matching our centers. I do appreciate how much ease she gives, because it makes the bag less stressful, and you can just match everything up really well. I'm a sucker for a good fitting gusset too. It's just fitting in beautifully. We're going to start making the other side. I like to clip on the top, so I know everything's going to be there. This is exciting because we're getting to that finish line and we're going to having a well-constructed, beautiful bag. Kind of super appreciate the 1/2 inch seam allowance too, because it's like, just in case you're like a smidge off, you can just make sure that you caught everything in all the seams. All right, so I'm going to set this down. We're going to go 1/2 inch as well around, back stitching well at the beginning and end. I like a good stiletto because it could be like the finger that you want to have underneath by the machine, but you know if you do, you're going to get hurt. So it's that. All right, so we're going to clip this on. We're going to make the bag right sides out. glue down your seam allowance. We're going to turn this right sides out. I'm going to have to remove some of these threads from when I picked the vinyl. Alright, so if you're not doing the tabs like I did on the sides of the bag, you would take your tab. If you didn't want these, you would take your tab and baste this down at 1/4 of an inch, and it would be in the seam allowance. Okay. That's how you do the tabs on that. Then we're going to take our key holder and you're going to attach it to one side. Where did you go, little key holder? You know, I think my machine eats, my room eats things. This is the only thing that logically makes sense to me. Okay. It's right here. You're going to take your key holder and you would just put it, you're going to base it down on one side too. Whatever side you think is great, you can have it. I just poke out a little bit more so that way I poke out a little bit more so it can be caught up in the seam allowance. Just space stitch. Okay. Then we're going to take the back. We're going to base the back. You know what? I think I should have clipped like I put it on the opposite side instead of the side of the bag that I need it to be on, the key ring adjustment. So I'm going to fix that real quick by basting it on the opposite side. So that way I can put the backing on easy. Quick little base stitch. Alright, and then I'm going to take the back, line up our centers. Again, our centers are key on this, and it makes everything line up easier. I'm going to clip it right sides to right side, and we're going to baste it on at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I don't know why I ever say baste. You know it's going to be a permanent stitch, so... And then, so I'm going to come over here. trim our seam allowance down. I'm still pulling out little burrs for when I had to rip the seam, use my seam ripper. All right, so we have our bag like this. We're going to, she's taping up to make sure this doesn't get affected. I don't have any tape. I didn't think about that actually. I'm going to take a binder clip and just bind it so that way it won't be that much of a fuss. We're going to stick this outer shell in our inner shell where we have the hole. This is going to be a challenge, people, because you already know that I decided okay, so right down, stick your outer shell inside the hole and squish. You have to squish it. This is going to be fun. Let's get squishy with it. I had to make it all vinyl, right? All right. We're going to start by putting, see, I'm trying to position this so you can see. We're going to start by putting seams to seam and butterfly opening the side seams. Now remember, the interior fabric has three seams, so you just want the two to meet up. You want to do the same on this other side. So we're going to get real squishy with it. Butterfly open this. Okay. Okay, but just keep butterfly opening the seams, and then you're going to clip all the way around. I know it's going to be really squishy and difficult because you're going through many layers, but you totally got this. We made a big opening for the lining. 10 inches is a lot. So we will be able to birth this easily. Let's just clip it. We're going to clip it real good. And see how I'm matching my centers with my centers. It just helps. These little marks help tremendously to try to get this even. You're like, Shnova, be quiet about the center marks. Okay. All right, we have it all. So what we're going to do is we are going to stitch across the thing using our seam allowance, which our seam allowance is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to start at the center. Back stitch the beginning and end. This seam didn't want a butterfly open, so I'm just gonna make sure it is. You're gonna be strong arming your bag. So just prepare for it to be squishy. And hopefully you were not like me and trying, guess what? I'm going to do vinyl inside vinyl. I don't know, that's been my thing lately. And I'm just repositioning the bag again. Making sure my centers match as I'm going through. Moving little bits and bobs out of the way. When I was little and we were, my dad was taking me and my siblings, I have 3 siblings, to go see our abuelita, and aka grandmother, abuela. We called her Lulu for short. Whenever we were going through the mountains in California, like we would, my brothers and my sister will go, we're almost there. We're almost there. That's what, every time I'm sewing, I always say that in my head, so that way it can just, you know, it could be, we're almost there. So we did the outside, we pulled gently our satchel. We want to trim our seam allowance, be caught, if you're using the outside for D-rings, just be careful not to trim too much. We're going to trim, I'm going to have it go down to 1/4 of an inch. You can do it all the way up to 1/8, but if you get the side D-rings, that's why I always like, I like the option of putting it on the gusset ahead of time. You do really want to trim the bulk and the back of the bag where the messenger bag. Why do I keep calling it a messenger bag? Where the flap is. We're going to birth this without hitting ourselves in the face. Okay, that was not a good sound. Popped a few stitches. It's okay. It's okay. I can fix that. Your birthing will be so much easier because you didn't do the vinyl on vinyl. If you did, then come join me and let's try something different. No, the Mora and the Rex vinyl are pretty thin, so so this is already out. While this is out, we can pull out all the curves. So you can just use like a bone folder or a chopstick, whatever you have, just to pull out all the curves, poke them out, make sure all your seam allowances are good, and then we can close up. And make sure everything's poked out in your lining too, because you don't want to sorry, it's you don't want to have like your lining be all collapsing before you close this side up. This is why I did 2 stitches that did pop out, but I'm going to fold it. I'm going to clip it and I'm going to sew over it. All right. So we're going to use a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And just take your time and make sure you backstitch. And because there's like 2 entries to this pocket, I understand why she did this method versus like trying to take the pocket, trying to make it turn through and then use the pocket to close it up, because no one's really going to see the stitches in here because there's a dual lining because of the center pocket. So it works out. I don't want to like knocking things over. Sorry. Let's see. I'm cutting threads. Okay, so now I'm just going to open this up and stick the lining inside the bag. Oops. Just gonna stuff it in there and roll out the seam. I don't need my nails. Okay, birthing this bag was easier than putting the lining in. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure all my seams are matched up and not break another red clip. I have one that flew across the room by me just bending it. I was like, okay, I know I put a lot of pressure on you clips, but come on now. And you're just making sure everything folds nicely. Take these off so that way they don't indent it even more. Ooh, that's a nice metally sound. And I'm flipping it. Okay. And oh my god, that clip just shattered right in my face. That was a little bit scary and intense, but I'm okay. All right. All right, so we are closed up you can close up by hand, what we just did, or you can do it by machine like I just did. And then, if I can turn to page 43, we're going to gently push our lining in. And then we're going to I'm looking. I don't know if she top stitches. Hold on. All right. Then we're going to gently push this in, and we are going to top stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance versus 1/4. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to top stitch from the inside out. Because, I'm trusting my bobbin thread. Matter of fact, before you top stitch, we just did a whole lot of work. Check your bobbin. If your bobbin's like real low, which this one is, if it's low, then you don't want to have to go back and be like, oh man. So I would definitely recommend top stitching at a 1/2 inch, especially if you're on a domestic, because you're avoiding all the layers and bulk, but you're still getting that professional top stitch look. If you have an industrial machine, I say go for the 1/4 or 1/8 because it's just closer to the rim. It literally depends on what your personal preference is. All right, I love to start in a corner. And I back stitch 1 or 2 stitches. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of pulling this section nice and taut so that way it doesn't look wrinkly on the back. When you're top stitching from this area, you really need to trust your bobbins, your bobbin tension. That's why I also tell people to do a test sandwich. You can see how your bottom is acting. Or you can turn this bag right inside out and then top stitch that way. You have a lot of different choices. You can top stitch the back where the flap is, and then stop your stitching and then start again when you're not on the thicker part. But like a hump jumper or a walking foot on a domestic machine would be perfect. If you don't have a hop dropper, you can use the case that you get your needles in. They're usually help get things leveled, or a ruler that won't get cracked or anything if you use it, like my Westcott rulers. Man, this thing's been through everything. I've accidentally ironed it. I've done a lot. And just make sure your hardware is out of the way so you don't accidentally hit it with your needle. I like to move the zippers to the middle so that way I'm not accidentally hitting them either. Take your time. Just take your time and breathe. That's the most important part. Breathing. And it's okay to squish your bag, especially with bags like this that are made with foam. They'll just bounce back. Okay, and I'm going to trim my threads. I have to pull out so many threads. Okay, so once we have that all set, I'm going to, oh yeah, this is a great looking bag. Oh man, this is beautiful. I'm just checking out any puckers and this. This is a beautiful bag. What? Come on, Lanyos, bring this through. This satchel is gorgeous. Oh. All right, so now we're going to make, she has the option of having an adjustable strap or just a shoulder strap. I'm going to do an adjustable strap, but I'm not doing it two-tone because I couldn't find any fabrics that were like the perfect gold. So I'm just going to do the normal 4-inch strap. Okay, so here's the thing. Fun fact about me. About 85% of the bags I make, I don't like. I can see like where a skip stitch was, or a pucker, or something a flaw that makes me not like the bag. So when I'm genuinely saying I like the bag, it really is the exception, not the rule. It all depends on how I like it. Most of the time I don't. When I do, it makes me excited. Oh, my phone, no. At Bixby, no. Okay. Why? Okay, Bixby doesn't come on all this time, right? But every time I film, it comes on. It's really weird. All right, we're almost done. We're going to make this strap. And again, you can make a shoulder strap, which would be really cute too, because it looks really satchel-y. Got the whole Dooney and Burke vibe with that. Or you can make adjustable. I like adjustable because I like to be totally hands-free, and I like to feel the security of the bag across my body. All right. We're going to take this over to the machine, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch on both sides. If I can hold my threads for like 5 seconds. Follow that line with your eyes. Get into a rhythm. And just let it fly. So I'm going to hop over a few stitches. And because we already stitched down the open, all right. So we're going to take our slider and put it on through. And I'm going to stitch a line in between, and then I'm going to rivet. I like the combination of both, to be honest with you. So I know if something happens, like where the rivet magically pops off, then I have a line of stitching that helps. And then I just grab my, I'm going to set some rivets in this. I'm going to set my rivet. I need to have Kendall. My husband's name is Kendall. If this is your first time coming to my channel, you'll hear his voice several times throughout it. He's the better half. I need to have him set this press to board. I literally have been saying that for like many years because I've had this for a couple of years and I never do it. I don't know why. I do not know why. Just like I seen a really cool video. I think it's from like Seem Legit where she like paints her sewing machine. I still want to paint mine's like a teal Tiffany blue because blue is my favorite color. But I don't know if I have the courage to wait that long. So I'm gonna thread. I'm gonna thread my my strap. Through and down. You want to make sure nothing is twisted before you put your final stitching for the other swivel glass in your hand. Then I'm going to fold up. And I'm going to do one row of stitching forward and backwards. Nowhere close to the hardware. Because I'm still debating if I'm going to do the pointy strap ends with this strap. I might do it, I don't know. If I do it, you're going to see in the beginning. Let's see. And then I'm going to grab my hole punch and put a rivet. Oops. Hey, I'm just like trying to break nails and everything today. All right. So we have our bag. Our bag is done. And it's kind of epic. So we have our bag. It is finished. We have a beautiful satchel. We have faux straps in the front of our flap. Inside we have a zipper pocket, a center division pocket, and another zipper and 2 slip pockets. Then we have a front slip. This thing is loaded with pockets. So we learned so many different techniques. We have so many different things to go with this bag. I'm really excited about it. So if you have any questions about this particular bag and the pattern and the tutorial I did, please comment down below. I'll be more than willing to answer any question that you have. I'm really responsive. If you can like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell, it helps out the channel tremendously. If you were like, hey Nova, I want to do something more for you, I do have a Ko-fi in my description box. I will have the in my description box, I will have where you can purchase this pattern and definitely give it a try. Support small businesses and people who create like fantastic bags. And I'm really thrilled with this. This looks good. It looks super good. Oh my God, why do I want to keep this one for myself? So I hope you enjoyed it. And I did make mistakes. I'm human, but I will show you and teach you how you can fix your mistakes. That's my whole thing. I always make them, and I think everyone does, and I want to show you how to correct them. So until the next time I see you, I hope you have a fantastic day and a great week ahead, and happy sewing. Bye.